Hey guys, this is Jordan with Hardy House Games. Today I wanted to take a little bit of time talking about board game design, specifically about positive and negative feedback loops. Now this is something that I commonly bring up at the board game table. I think my wife is probably pretty sick of me talking about it. So I thought, hey, maybe I'll make a video out of it and then I can finally stop talking about it at every board game night. So what are positive and negative feedback loops? Well, first I think it'd be good to explain what a positive feedback loop is. Simply put, this is a mechanism within a game in which whoever is winning is given more power to continue to succeed. And similarly, that generally means whoever is losing is harder for them to succeed. One of the most shameless examples of this is in the card game Scum. If you're at the top of the table, you get to get rid of 2 whatever cards you want. Generally, they're really bad cards, and the person who's in last place has to give you their 2 best cards. Other games that have positive feedback loops in them include Monopoly, where the stronger you are in the game, the more commonly your opponents are having to pay you, and the less power they have to get good properties to charge rent. Catan also has a pretty prominent positive feedback loop. The more settlements you have down, the more resources you gather, and the faster your game goes. And then there are games with kind of subtle positive feedback loops like Seven Wonders, where you're able to chain cards into other cards based on points and things that you already have at the beginning of the game. Positive feedback loops can be extremely fun in games. It helps whoever's winning feel just overpowered. It can be very exciting and exhilarating to be able to charge somebody just tons of money in Monopoly. But on the flip side, positive feedback loops can be really disheartening for whoever is losing. I've played many games of Catan in which somebody who's in last place knows they have no chance of winning, and the rest of the night is just kind of ruined for them. For this reason, a lot of board game designers dig into negative feedback loops. A negative feedback loop is a mechanism in a game in which the player who is winning is actually given more difficulty to succeed. Unintentionally, Catan kind of has this because whoever is winning generally is teamed up against. But other games have this type of design just baked into the rules. I think Quacks of Quedlinburg, Quacks of Quackerton, Quacks of Queening, Quacks of Quedlinburg. Anyway, I think that the game Quacks of whatever town that is has a great example of a negative feedback loop. The further ahead a player is, the more rat tails there are between that player and the person in last, and rat tails are a notably pretty good benefit for those who are behind. And I think that this is intentional because on the flip side, there's actually a positive feedback loop in Quacks. If your pot doesn't explode, you get points and more ingredients, and your bag becomes stronger and stronger throughout the game. So I think the designers were wise to include another negative feedback loop just to help keep it a little more interesting. Another great game, which isn't a board game that uses negative feedback loops, is Mario Kart. The blue shell is an absolute negative feedback loop. It literally only targets the person in first. And of course, the further ahead you are in the race, the worse your items are, and the further behind you are, the stronger those items are. So one thing negative feedback loops are really good at doing is keeping the game close and competitive. Nobody gets too far ahead or too far behind. So with all of this in mind, this is why I wanted to point out why we've created some negative feedback loops in the game we're designing called Ruse: Time of Troubles. In Ruse, players are commonly bluffing and trying to fake which character card they have. The penalty when you're in the lower class is pretty low if you're caught. But once you rise the ranks and are in higher classes, the penalty becomes more severe. So you could have one player who's in a lower class and another player who's in a higher class. The one who's in the higher class is going to have to pay a steeper price for getting caught than the person in the lower class. And this is just one element that we've put into Ruse to try to make it more balanced and exciting. Gosh, we've been playtesting this game for over 4 years, and we've been refining the mechanics over and over as we go through some of these design principles. If any of this discussion sparked interest in our game, you can sign up for our newsletter using the link in the description, or I'm sure it'll be right here on the video. We'll give you updates on how the game design process is going, and of course you'll be the first to know when we finally release it. And of course your support would be greatly appreciated.